Okay. All right, where do we go next? Okay. Here we go. Bipolar for beginners. Let me move this down here. And slideshow. Okay. All right, Bipolar for beginners. I'm Katrin Kutlucinar, and this is Alice, if you guys haven't met us before. So a little bit about me. I am an LGPC. I'm a licensed graduate professional counselor. I also work for a research associate, as a research associate for Dr. Robert M. Post of the Bipolar Collaborative Network. He's also a professor of clinical psychiatry at George Washington University and a consulting neuropsychopharmacologist for refractory bipolar disorder and unipolar depression. My current research focuses on bringing awareness of pediatric bipolar disorder to clinicians and physicians to close the 5 to 10 year gap between the onset of the disorder to diagnosis and first treatment. So I'm also the founder and director of research and conversations about bipolar disorder. And the mission of the nonprofit is to bridge the gap between the academic study of bipolar disorder and the bipolar patient population, their family members, and clinicians to help patients become stronger members of their treatment teams and to educate clinicians on the complexities of this disorder. So, Alice.
So my name's Alice Sautner. I've been working in the field of behavioral and mental health for over 20 years. I'm a clinical compliance manager and an educator. I work at a nonprofit. I have my degree, my master's degree in clinical psychology. In addition to working with this group, I also write articles under the name Hello Betty Van Cleve. I write articles about managing bipolar disorder with everyday lifestyle tips and tricks. And I'm also the director of fundraising for research and conversations about bipolar disorder.
Yay. All right. So what is bipolar disorder? According to the American Psychiatric Association's Diagnostical and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, which is the Bible of mental health disorders for clinicians and physicians, bipolar spectrum disorders, formerly called manic depressive illness, represents a group of disorders that cause extreme fluctuation in a person's mood, energy, and ability to function, in which symptoms of mania and depression alternate. Oop. So there are subtypes of bipolar disorder. There is bipolar 1, and that's where the individual fluctuates between episodes of mania or hypomania and major depressive episodes, or experiences a mix of these. They must have at least one manic episode that lasts 1 week or leads to hospitalization, which is required, but a depressive episode is not required for diagnosis. Now, it can be very confusing because drugs and alcohol, especially marijuana, can cause a manic episode or psychosis and mimic bipolar 1. So you have to make sure that there's no substances that are influencing the manic episode. Now, bipolar 2 is where the individual fluctuates between major depressive and hypomanic episodes. At least one depressive episode and one hypomanic episode lasting 4 or more days are required for diagnosis. Anxiety and substance use disorders are common comorbidities. That's the same with bipolar 1. And a little sidetrack here. Schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, autism all share overlapping genes with bipolar disorder. Now, cyclothymic disorder, or cyclothymia, is considered a mild bipolar disorder. The individual experiences periods of hypomania and depressive symptoms that occur over at least 2 years. To rule out the number, duration, and severity of symptoms must not meet the full criteria for a major depressive episode or a hypomanic episode. And I'll show you next. So over here, if you can see my mouse. Bipolar disorder, bipolar 1 is always going to hit mania. I mean, it can hit hypomania and go back down, but it will go up to mania, which bipolar 2 does not. Bipolar 2 only goes to hypomania, can go down to major depressive disorder or major depression. Now, cyclothymia will only hit hypomania and minor depression. And then there's bipolar disorder not otherwise represented or not otherwise specified, which is in the DSM-4. I can't remember what we call it in the DSM-5, but that's where they don't know yet quite yet what disorder, what subtype it is. Often they diagnose children with that. So that is the different subtypes. Mania. So mania is an abnormally elevated mood and related symptoms marked by severe impairment for at least 7 consecutive days. Symptoms for most of the day may generally include a state of excitement, overactivity, and psychomotor agitation, often accompanied by over-optimism, grandiosity, so thinking like really highly of yourself, impaired judgment, like risky behaviors, a period of elevated, expansive, or irritable mood accompanied by various combinations of inflated self-esteem. So like, I am the greatest person in the world. You know, I'm just amazing at my job, things like that. A decreased need for sleep, which is awful because our circadian rhythm is very important to bipolar disorder. Increased speech, racing thoughts, distractibility, increased activity or psychomotor agitation, and increased involvement in risky activities. So buying sprees, spending lots of money, and sexual indiscretion, so hypersexuality. Here's just a picture of symptoms of mania. Sudden changes in energy and activity, mood changes, speech disruptions, like talking really fast, changes in thought patterns. You can develop psychosis. Some people do have bipolar 1 or bipolar 2 with psychotic features and impaired judgment. Not everyone experiences psychosis with bipolar disorder. Like, I personally am bipolar 1, and I do not have psychotic features. So symptoms of a manic episode. We kind of just went through this, but we'll get a little more into it. Having an abnormally high level of activity or energy, feeling extremely happy or excited, even euphoric. That's not always the case, but sometimes you feel euphoric. Not sleeping or only getting a few hours of sleep, but still feeling rested. That one is a big sign for a manic episode. Having inflated self-esteem, thinking you're invincible, being more talkative than usual, talking so much and so fast that others can't interrupt, having racing thoughts, having lots of thoughts on lots of topics at the same time, called a flight of ideas, being easily distracted by unimportant or unrelated things, being obsessed with and completely absorbed in an activity. Like, say you pick up, God, I'll give you an example for me. I picked up candle making. I spent $10,000 on making candles, buying candle supplies, things like that. Like, I became obsessed with making candles. This was a very long time ago. Thank God I've been stable since, but yeah. Displaying purposeful movements such as pacing around your home or office or fidgeting where you're sitting, and showing impulsive behavior that can lead to poor choices. Like we said, buying sprees, reckless sex, foolish business investments, things like that. You can add on marriages, and other things that you just make poor choices and you don't really think them through. Tattoos, one of them. Getting piercings, cutting your hair off completely. Those are signs of a manic episode.
Describe my week.
What?
Did you just describe my week?
No, Alice.
I'm joking.
All right, hypomania. So it's a condition in which you display a revved up energy or activity level, mood, or behavior. The new energized you is recognized by others as beyond your usual self. Hypomania is less severe form of mania, and both are commonly part of bipolar disorder. Treatments include psychotherapy, medications, and self-care strategies. People with hypomania do not get hospitalized. That is one of the major differences between mania and hypomania. So the symptoms are the same, but less intense than mania. It varies from person to person. Like we said earlier, having an abnormally high level of activity or energy, feeling extremely happy, excited, not sleeping much, having inflated self-esteem, thinking you're invincible, being more talkative than usual, racing thoughts, being easily distracted by unimportant or unrelated things, being obsessed with things and completely absorbed in an activity you're focused on, like my candles, displaying purposeful movements such as pacing around your home, fidgeting, showing impulsive behaviors that lead to poor choices. This is not as much as mania. Mania is pretty bad. And when you are in a manic episode and you do participate in a lot of these behaviors, it leads you to feel very embarrassed when you finally realize what's going on, and that will bring you down to a depressive episode. I'm gonna skip this. So what does hypomania feel and look like? Getting into an intense cleaning frenzy and cleaning all surfaces of every room in your house, staying up till 3 a.m. and not going to bed or feeling tired the next morning, starting a project or more than one project and working nonstop on these projects for like 20 hours straight, feeling that you can't fail at anything you want to do, even if you have no training or experience, calling and texting all your friends day and night and posting a large number of pictures and comments on social media. Please don't judge me. I post pictures of my dog every day. Quickly jump from subject to subject when talking and talking very fast. So this is a picture of the mood journal that we distribute that Dr. Post, my boss, came up with 30 some years ago when he was chief of biological psychiatry at NIM. It's still used in clinical trials. This is basically at the top. It doesn't show you at the top. Let me see. Here's a better picture and I'll go back to it. At the top, you put your medications. You check off which medications you take, and then you check off where you're at. So for mania, essentially incapacitated or hospitalized. High moderate, great difficulty with goal-oriented activity. Low moderate, some difficulty with goal-oriented activity. That would be about hypomania. Mild, this would be about hypomania. More energized and productive with little or no functional impairment. And it's the same with depression. And so that's how this mood journal works. If you want one, just let me know, Shauna know, Alice know, Christina know, or Kate know. I'm usually the one that sends them out, so let me know if you want one. We also give away pill boxes and pens if you don't have any pill boxes or pens. So treatment, and Alice, I think we were splitting this one. I'll do the therapy part. You do the healthy lifestyle choices.
Sure.
Okay, so medication, of course, is one of them. Now I am going to say this and take it with a grain of salt. People with bipolar 1 disorder cannot live without medications. Now, people with bipolar 2 disorder may be able to live without medications, but they have to actively participate in a huge lifestyle change and they will still experience episodes. Bipolar 1, unfortunately, medication is just a part of your life for the rest of your life. Now, therapy, family-focused therapy. Family-focused therapy is mostly for adolescents. There are 4 clinicians in this country. Sadly, there are 4 clinicians in this country who practice it. It is Dr. David J. Miklowitz came up with it. We do have a talk that he gave on his book, The Bipolar Disorder Survival Guide, where he does talk about family-focused therapy. And basically what the theme of it is psychoeducation, learning to be more self-aware about your diagnosis, Communication skills, communicating when you're in an episode or when you're not, and problem solving skills when you're in an episode or not. And like I was saying earlier with Alice, Dr. Manpreet Singh did a study, and she found that it actually has intrinsic changes to the brain, where it helps regulate the ventrolateral prefrontal cortex, which is dysfunctional in people with bipolar disorder, and that regulates emotions. Now, there's interpersonal and social rhythm therapy. This is another form of therapy that I like to practice, and it's basically getting you into the habit of living a certain type of ritual. We focus on scheduling, we focus on avoiding chaos, we focus on your circadian rhythm, getting sleep, planning ahead, things like that. Acceptance and commitment therapy, that one's a little bit more for anxiety and depression. But acceptance and commitment therapy is basically like this. I'll give you one of the metaphors we use for it. It is, you are the beach, and say the waves are your anxiety. The waves are going to come in and they're going to hit the beach every single time, but sometimes the waves are going to be small. Sometimes the waves are going to be big. Sometimes the tide is going to be low and the waves aren't going to be there as much. But either way, you're still there. You're still the beach. You're not going anywhere. The anxiety is what's going away. So accepting that, things like anxiety and depression are going to come, but it's going to go away. So those are the three types of therapies that I use, types of therapeutic modalities that I use for bipolar disorder when I'm treating bipolar clients. Alice, do you want to talk about healthy lifestyle choices?
Of course. So medication is absolutely necessary unless you have bipolar 2 and doing healthy lifestyle choices. Medication is absolutely necessary. Therapy is super important, but the choices that we make in our everyday lifestyle are just as important as the medication and therapy. What do I mean by healthy lifestyle choices? Well, the first thing is your diet. What you put into your body makes a really big difference in how we function. Studies have shown that diets that are high in carbohydrates affect mood lability more than other diets. So there have been studies that show that diets that are, lower in carb are good for mental health. And I would say in general, the best diets are diets that are low in processed foods, low in sugar, and high in whole foods. I live my life with nutrition. Like nutrition is like one of my number one go-tos when it comes to like my mental health and well-being, aside from medication and therapy. And I eat like mostly vegetables, some fruit, and protein, and drink lots of water. And that's been linked to brain health, and it's been linked to mood stability. So what we put into our bodies, should be fuel, and, unprocessed. Then there's exercise, and exercise is a really great technique to use when it comes to mental health, because if you're feeling depressed, it can boost your moods. It releases endorphins. If you're anxious, it can help you shake that out. I tend to, when I get like manic or like have a mixed episode, cardio really helps me shake it out. It just really helps me like shake it out. So it really does help you mitigate your moods. It doesn't necessarily have to be cardio. It can be, there's lots of wonderful things. There's yoga, there's running, there's cycling, there's pole dance classes, anything that keeps you active. And it also helps you focus on your body. Because I think a lot of the times when you're dealing with mental health, you're sitting there and you're focusing on your mental health state, and you're focusing on yourself and your thoughts. And getting active allows you to put focus into other parts of your body, and it kind of takes you away sometimes from like, the dark thoughts and like the spirals. Big one is curating the media that you consume. Only use social media that is positive in your life. It's really easy to get addicted to outrage when it comes to either like the news or Facebook or Twitter or, YouTube, anything, like it's really easy to go down dark places, and outrage is addictive. So if you're in places that, like, if you're watching upsetting things if you're reading upsetting things on social media and you continue to seek it out, that's going to have a major impact on your moods. So only follow things on social media that bring you joy. I had a horrible Twitter addiction back in 2020, and I went into this really dark place where my husband was like absolutely terrified for me. And I realized that like social media was impacting my mental health more than anything else. So I curated what I was seeing. I blocked all the bad accounts, and I only followed like fun things and cute animals and recipes and funny memes. And it made a huge difference. Similarly, what we watch, like media wise, like television and movies, if you're sensitive, if you're prone to anxiety, don't watch violent or anxiety provoking shows or movies. I used to love watching The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones, but after a while, it took a huge toll on my health. And I was noticing at night when we were watching television that my night ruminations were getting really bad. And I was really anxious about death and dying. And I realized when I wasn't watching Game of Thrones or Walking Dead, I wasn't thinking like that so much. So then I had to switch what I was watching at night. And I started watching positive, funny things. And all of a sudden, I felt a lot better. So back in 2020, it was scrolling through Twitter and watching like a violent episode of, X-Files. But now I'm looking at dog memes and watching like My Name is Earl from 2023, 2003. So that has a really big, that have a really big impact on your mental health, especially like in the moment. And then when it comes to drugs and alcohol, drugs, recreational drugs should not be consumed. If you have bipolar disorder, it can lead to psychosis. If not, it can just have a really bad impact on you. Even marijuana, there's studies that show that smoking marijuana consumption it does not have a good impact with bipolar disorder. And alcohol consumption. I know plenty of people who drink with bipolar disorder. It's not recommended. Like it also, because alcohol is a depressant, it messes with your sleep cycles, and that can further impact your mood. So if you're going to drink, do so responsibly, and ideally think about not drinking at all. But we're all human, but it's best not to drink or do drugs. Moving on to the next slide.
Okay.
So medications. So bipolar disorder is treated with a combination of medications. You might hear people talk about their cocktail, which is what we just call like taking more than medication. So people with bipolar disorder usually take a mood stabilizer or an antipsychotic, or sometimes they take both. They may take an antidepressant. You wouldn't be taking an antidepressant only by yourself. That's actually one of the hallmarks of bipolar disorder. I know a lot of us were initially diagnosed with depression and given an antidepressant, and if taken by itself, that can actually lead to mania, and that's how I got diagnosed actually. But when taken in conjunction with a mood stabilizer or an antipsychotic, antidepressants work really well. So you might see people online saying, oh, antidepressants can make you manic. Yes, they will, but that's when taken as a monotherapy. So don't let people scare you about taking an antidepressant if you're on a mood stabilizer or antipsychotic or both. But we'll talk more about that in a minute. And then the other kind of medication is an anxiolytic, which is a fancy word for saying anti-anxiety medication. Antidepressants do help with anxiety, but there are medications like gabapentin or benzodiazepines that work specifically for anxiety. Like I said before, this is we call it a bipolar cocktail, and most of us take a combination of the above. I know I take all three except the mood stabilizer. And like Kat said earlier, bipolar 2 can be treated with lifestyle changes, but that's not recommended. And in order to be functional with bipolar 1, you have to be on medications. And yes, medications are for life, but that's okay, because people with diabetes are on insulin for life. People with epilepsy are on anticonvulsant for life. It is just your maintenance medication to live your life. It doesn't mean anything about anything else. It's just for your chemical balance. So don't let people guilt you into thinking that medications are short term, because they're not for bipolar. They're a lifelong thing.
Exactly.
Um, be prepared for medication roulette. So when you're first diagnosed with bipolar disorder, be prepared for trial and error when it comes to finding not just the right medication, but the right medication combination for you. We're all different. We all respond to medications differently. So they don't have a good thing, and it doesn't necessarily mean what kind of bipolar that you have, because people with bipolar 1 and bipolar 2, or bipolar not otherwise specified, may all take the same medications or a different combinations. So there's no right medication for the kind of bipolar. You just kind of have to try it and be prepared for it to not work the first time. If it works the first time, well, thank your lucky stars, but that's probably not going to happen, and that's okay. So just be prepared to go through a lot of different medications and suffer through the side effects, because once you find your cocktail, it does work. And I'll just say, for me, I was diagnosed in December of 2007, and I went through like 7 medication changes, a change in psychiatrists, and it took over a year to find a single medication that worked. And then once I got on the medication that helped with my cycling and my mania, I still needed medications to add to that later. So I found an antipsychotic that worked, and then it took me another year or two to add a antidepressant and anxiolytic to that cocktail to truly achieve balance. And I think I was pretty lucky, because I know some people have gone years and years looking for the right medication combination, but that's okay. And that's to be expected. Don't think that you're failing bipolar because you're not getting the right medications right away. It takes a lot, and your doctor just doesn't know, and you don't know until you know. So just be prepared for that. And make sure as you're getting prescribed medications, make sure to ask your doctor if your medication can become addictive, because benzodiazepines like Ativan, Klonopin, or Xanax, those are addictive, as are stimulants like Adderall and Ritalin. And it's okay to take them. There's nothing wrong with taking them. You just need to know if they are addictive, and how to dose it, and how to know if you shouldn't be taking it, or talk to your doctor so you can just be mindful of taking it. I've been taking Ativan happily for years, and I know that it's addictive, and I make sure not to take more than however much I'm prescribed a day. I check in with my doctor, and it's okay. It's okay if you're on something that's addictive, but just be mindful of that, and make sure that you know that it's addictive, especially if you have an addictive personality, or addictive tendencies. It might not be the best choice for you, because I do know that there are some people who just don't do well with these medications, and there's always another resource. If you can't take the benzodiazepine, there are lots of other drugs that help with anxiety. So don't think, well, because I can't take a benzo, that I won't be able to not have anxiety, because there's always a medication replacement.
Okay.
Keep an open mind about medications. It's okay to have boundaries when it comes to the medications that you want to try. You are the most important member of your treatment team, and it's absolutely okay to set boundaries on well, I don't want to start off on something really strong, or I want to try a weight neutral drug before I go on a medication that might cause weight gain. It's okay to have these expectations, and talk to your doctor about what you want to try and what you don't want to try. But try not to assign meaning to prescriptions, because some medications just have a bad rap. And if you heard from somebody on the internet, oh, this medication is going to make you gain 100 pounds, or that medication is just for people with really severe issues, and I don't want to take that because I knew somebody who was taking that and they were always catatonic and they all looked drugged up. I don't want to take that. That's another person. That's anecdotal evidence. That's some rando voice on the internet. So just try not to give meaning to prescriptions. And that was a big issue that I had for myself when I was seeing my psychiatrist for the first time. I spent years working with people in mental health and doing group therapy, and I would see people in my groups kind of nodding off, and they seemed catatonic, or they they'd be like sleeping during group. And I'm like, oh, if I go on that drug that I know he's on that my doctor's recommending, I'm going to be catatonic. And that was my own anecdotal information. And I'm also not a doctor. So try to listen to your doctor because your doctor knows best. And the best, if a doctor is recommending a medication for you, then that means something to try, unless you know that you're allergic to it. But try to have an open mind, and that'll help you as you play medication roulette. Like I said, listen to your doctor. Don't listen to randompeople.net.
Yeah, everyone is different. Everyone's body is different. Everyone metabolizes drugs differently. That's why they have those gene site tests now, where you can see how your body metabolizes certain medications. All right. So this is a picture of you talking to your doctor. So Alice, how you talk to your doctor?
So like Kat said before, and she keeps saying she's absolutely right, you are the most important member of your treatment team, and the most important thing that you can do for yourself is to advocate for yourself. So before your session, try to like write down, if you have any questions, write them down ahead of time. Because I know if you're like me, like I have a bunch of things I want to ask and I get to the session and I'm all nervous and anxious and then I forget. So write down your questions ahead of time. Don't let your doctor cut your time short. If you're paying for 30 minutes, don't let them take less time than that. You're paying for 30 minutes, you sit there and you use that time. Whether you're done talking about your medications, then talk about side effects or talk about lifestyle choices or ask other questions about bipolar disorder. Use your time, you're paying for it. Use all the time you can. Ask about when they recommend a new medication, ask about side effects of the medication and ask how to manage them. Because just because a medication has unpleasant side effects doesn't mean that there's not a workaround. Ask how long medications will take to work. Every medication is different. Ask what the therapeutic dosage is. And also talk when you're struggling, talk to your doctor to talk about what's going on in your life to see if anything's been triggering your symptoms. Because sometimes we just get, episodes because of our brain chemistry, and sometimes something in our life is occurring that's creating an episode. Like for me, work stress is the number one thing to make me manic. I get manic if somebody's stressing me out at work, without a doubt. And sometimes I forget about that. And I'll be in my doctor's appointment and I'll be saying, hey, my meds are not working and I'm feeling XYZ. And then my doctor will talk to me like, we'll explore what's going on. So I recognize that sometimes we have triggers. And if we know what our triggers are, we can work around those triggers or try to see how we can eliminate those triggers. And sometimes if you can't eliminate those triggers, you can learn coping techniques around those triggers. And don't be intimidated by your doctor. They're part of your treatment team. They may have the degree, but you are part of your treatment team as well. And the treatment, it's your treatment. It's not their treatment. I can't tell you how many.
You have the subjective experience. They do not.
Exactly. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people leave their therapy session, their psychiatry appointments, and they'll say, well, my doctor told me about this thing, and what do you think he meant by that? Or like, my doctor told me to take this medication, but what are the side effects? And I always want to remind people, like, ask questions, be your own advocate. Like, don't feel the need to not ask questions. If your doctor says something and you're not sure what they mean by that or how to work around that, ask them. Don't let them make you be afraid of asking questions.
Okay.
So, I think, medication life hack. Oops, sorry. So for people who are on medications for life, which is probably all of us, here are some tips and tricks for making medications easier. Use a pill organizer. Our group does send out pill organizers. They are lifesavers. They are so wonderful. Because like if you're just taking one medication a day, that's kind of a no-brainer. But I know I take 6 medications a day and like 4 pills of one, 5 pills of another, and 1.5 of another. I take a lot of pills a day. So using a pill organizer, all I have to do once a week is just fill it once a week. And then I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about counting out all my meds. And then another great thing is now I also know when I took my meds, because like sometimes you don't remember, like, did I take my meds? Did I not take my meds? And I can go to my pill organizer and go, oh, yep, Thursday's empty. I did take my pills for today. So they are just the best thing ever. And you can get one from us, or you can get one from CVS for like $2. Life-changing. Use a pill splitter. I don't know if you're like me, I take half a pill of one of my medications, and pill splitters are super easy to use. They're super effective, and they're really kind of fun. I used to use a kitchen knife, keep that in my bathroom, raise some eyebrows, but a pill splitter is safer, and it's a lot of fun, and you can get them from Amazon for like $1. Establish a medication routine so you know when you took your medications, and you get into the habit of taking your medications. So because a lot of people forget to take their meds, but if you have it work into your daily routine, it's easier to just do it without thinking. If you take your meds in the morning, keep your pill box by your coffee pot, or if you take your meds at night, keep your pill box by your toothbrush. I take my meds at dinner time. I keep my meds by my salt shaker. So you put them in places in your life where you know you're going to be that time of day. And there are also really wonderful apps that help you remember to take your meds. There's Medisafe, which is free. There's Max Pill Reminder, which is free. And then there's this pill reminder, which is an all-in-one, and that's $2 a month, or is it just $2 flat rate? Kat, do you know?
Okay.
Oh, wait, can you go back?
Yeah.
Do you know if pill reminder, is that a $1.99 a month, or is that
it's $1.99 a month.
okay? And then the last bit of medication life hack I can give you is carry an emergency dose of medications with you at all times, because you never know what's going to happen. If you might be waylaid and not be able to get to your meds when you need to take them. And another piece of advice I have for that, if you're going to carry meds on yourself, don't get those really cute little pill organizers that say like happy pills or chill pills, because that tells people that you're carrying pills on you. Put them in something that doesn't say medication on it, so people are not going to look at it. I keep my pills in like a contact case, so it just doesn't draw attention that you have like, I don't need people knowing that I carry antipsychotics in my purse. I put them in a contact container. So forego the cute containers, put them in something just kind of generic. All right.
So don't be this guy.
Okay, so this is, as I was talking about randos on the internet, this is a screenshot that I took from a Facebook bipolar group a couple of years ago, and it's true always. So the comment of the post in the group was, this is what the person's saying. So in my previous post, I asked about the drug that I'm on, which is olanzapine, and 3 people replied. Don't know much about it or not, but are not a lot of people on it. Is that true? Is it likely to be rarely used in bipolar? So they were asking about a medication that they're on. They've never heard of people who are using it or not. And then somebody said in the comment section, that wouldn't be something I'd take. I'd refuse it. I don't believe in doctors prescribing me antipsychotics that strong. I'm not hallucinating. I just have bipolar disorder. So you know me, if you know me, you know I love to argue in the comment section. So what I responded to that guy was, antipsychotics are a drug class. They're not a diagnosis. I've never been psychotic, nor have I ever had hallucinations, but I'm on a medication very similar. It's just for what works for some people. Don't let randos on the internet make you have opinions about medications for no reason. So don't be that guy. Please don't be that guy. Well, I will be on that medication. That's too strong. And remember that drug classes are not diagnosed.
Okay, see a therapist. So a psychiatrist will address your diagnosis with the use of pharmaceuticals and will meet with you less frequently to manage symptoms and side effects. You know you're doing well on medications if your doctor asks to see you every 3 months. A therapist will meet with you more frequently to address coping skills, thought patterns, and relational skills. Therapy will help you create new and effective coping strategies as your mind quiets and you readjust to the world. We all have coping mechanisms to deal with the stressors in our lives, but most of them are not healthy. It's amazing what the brain can do as coping mechanisms. But with therapy, we learn coping skills to actually address the symptoms that we're experiencing in a healthy manner. So the way, like I had mentioned with family focused therapy, what I do with bipolar clients is I teach them psychoeducation for self-awareness of symptoms, communication skills, problem solving skills when in episodes. So that is a big thing that I do with my clients. Meds that you will take will help regulate your moods and symptoms, but they do not change your behaviors. It's not going to change your lifestyle. And with bipolar disorder, unfortunately, it is a huge lifestyle change, like Alice was talking about before. I mean, there are certain things we can't do that other people can do, and we just have to accept that. You know, I struggled with that when I was in my early 20s. I tried to pretend like I wasn't bipolar, and I didn't go to therapy. I just took medications and I thought that would help. And I tried to hide, you know, from everyone that I was bipolar, and I tried to be like everyone else, and it just didn't work. Now, living a lifestyle where things are more regulated, things are less chaotic, you know, when change occurs, I plan ahead for it, things like that, things that you learn in therapy. That's the stuff that helps you manage bipolar disorder and stay stable. So this is Psychology Today, a picture of Psychology Today. I don't know if you guys have seen Psychology Today. Probably. You can find a therapist in your area. You can look up by your by the type of treatment modality you want, your disorder, your insurance, like etc. You can find a really good therapist that way. And most therapists right now take telehealth, so they see you remotely.
Yep, and that's actually how I'm seeing my current psychologist. I found through Psychology Today. My husband too. There's some shady people on there, but there's some excellent practitioners on there as well.
Yep. All right, so ask questions. This is yours, Alice.
All right, so like we keep saying, this is like a theme in this presentation, is to ask questions, and most people say, because when the best way to be involved in your treatment is to ask questions and be involved in your treatment. And ask questions. Ask about medication options, ask about side effects of medications, ask about recommendations for therapy modalities, for lifestyle recommendations, for diet recommendations, really anything. And the more you ask questions, that can boost your confidence. And when you feel and make you, excuse me, my cat's screaming at me. It can boost your confidence, and you ask questions and you get involved, and you realize the more involved you're in your treatment, the more it will help you with your prognosis. And it can make you feel more in control and can give you a deeper understanding of your mental health. So the more you understand yourself, the better things are. And I've been a loudmouth New Yorker for my entire treatment, because we ask a lot of questions in my house, and we're also like really annoying. So I've been asking questions, and I've learned so much about my needs, and I've learned so much about the condition itself and all about medications and everything, that I feel very much in control of my life right now, because I was involved from day one. And that's the best thing that you can do when you feel in control of your mental health. It shapes your life. It improves the quality of your life and your prognosis. And nobody can advocate for you better than you. So doctors and therapists are great. Family is helpful, but nobody cares for yourself the way you do. So be your biggest advocate and learn as much as you can about your disorder. Don't wait for your med check or your weekly therapy. If you're involved in our Facebook group and you're asking for research questions, or you're in high functioning bipolar or other support groups and asking questions, that's great. Keep doing that and read the research, read my articles. Next one.
Okay.
So I think I think we already talked about healthy habits. That's okay.
All right, let's go on to the next one. So use your support system. Communicate when you're unwell. This can provide clarity to your household if you're experiencing symptoms. It will also help others know when to support you. Fact checking. That's something that we do a lot of in therapy. Symptoms can do a number on your perception and judgment of the world around you, and having someone that without that skewed view can offer you some sound insight and remind you which end is up. So, like, fact checking, for example, you may be feeling really, really down, and you may think like, oh my God, everyone hates me. Ask someone, ask your husband, ask your partner, ask your friend, ask your parent, like, is this true? Like, do people hate me? And like, that's what CBT is. It's reviewing the evidence. Like, what evidence is there for this being true? So fact checking, making sure that you're not just listening to your brain, because our brain plays tricks on us. And we'll go through this. We'll skip this. So you are not your diagnosis. And I wanted to talk about this one because there's a difference between I have bipolar and I am bipolar. It's okay to identify yourself either way. I identify as I am bipolar, and I do that because my onset was at the age of 6. I have grown up with bipolar disorder my entire life. It really affected my adolescence. I had to learn how to deal with it in adulthood all alone. And it shaped who I am today. A lot of the stuff that I have been able to do has been because I am bipolar. And I say that, but there's nothing wrong with saying I am bipolar or saying I have bipolar. It's just the way you see yourself or see your disorder. It really, it's important to me. I embrace that I am bipolar, because it is a lifelong disorder for me, and I'm not going to to just say like I have bipolar and like I have diabetes, something like that. I am bipolar. It shaped my life. But other people have different points of views, and it's okay to have your point of view. Now, when I like to debate stuff with people, of course, my mom's a lawyer, so I love debating. But when you debate with people about this, keep in mind that you aren't trying to win the conversation. You're trying to learn from other people what their point of view is. So does anyone want to like share how they identify themselves and why? And you don't have to if you don't feel like comfortable.
I'll share.
Okay.
So I like to say that I have bipolar. I was diagnosed in my 20s. And for me, saying that I have bipolar is just an aspect of who I am, because I feel like I'm more than just my mental health. And when I reframe my life through a disorder, it shapes the way I see the world. So when I say that I have it, it's just one aspect of me. Because I used to say I am, and then my whole life was painted by my symptoms. So saying I have is my way of being more than my symptoms.
Okay. So tough love about bipolar disorder.
Okay. So there are some things that the reason why we included this slide, there are some like ongoing themes that I've seen for the last several years in the support groups, not on like Reddit and Facebook, like the bipolar support group. So there are some things that we might not want to hear, but they're really important to hear. I had to learn these the hard way. So I want to share it. So like my intention, this is just to like educate, not hurt anybody's feelings. The first one is that medications are your responsibility. So if you run out, if you run out, it's your problem. So you want to make sure that you don't run out. It's not your doctor's responsibility to remind you. It's not your pharmacy's responsibility to tell you that you're about to run out. So make sure that you're taking ownage of your scripts. And there are so many things you can do today to make sure that you don't run out of medication. You can have medication refills are automated. You can have script sync, and I think most pharmacies offer script sync where they can make sure that all of your prescriptions or most of them come get filled at the same time. And if you can, I keep a little cache of like medication that I don't use. I keep it in a safe place because if I do run out of medication, and sometimes like in the rare occasion that happens, I have a place, I have like emergency stores and I keep it at someplace safe. So those are ways that you can make sure that you don't run out of medication. Um, when you hear the term bipolar, remember that bipolar is a term that's not exclusive to mental health. A lot of people get upset when they hear other people use the term bipolar when it doesn't relate to mental health. And I want to remind everyone that bipolar is a term that means having two poles. It's a phrase we use in geology. It's a phrase we use in statistics. It's a phrase that people use, so it's not exclusive to mental health. So if you hear somebody talking about the weather being bipolar, that's a reasonable thing to call the weather if the weather's being cold and hot or rainy and not rainy in one day. It's not exclusive to mental health. And don't forget that we used to call bipolar manic depression before 1980 in the DSM. So bipolar is still, we've been using that term for the last few decades, but that's not how it was always defined, that mental disorder was defined. So just don't let people using that word get you upset. Getting offended is a choice and our reactions are a choice. We're always going to hear something that's hurtful. We might hear people say things that are hurtful or upsetting about mental health or bipolar disorder. How we choose to respond is our decision. It's hard at first, and it's hard at first. I'm a sensitive person. I had to learn to thicken my skin because you're going to hear upsetting things. You're going to hear people. And I know I heard my mom like last year, she was saying, "Oh, so and so they have this disorder. They're crazy." And I'm like, if I heard that 15 years ago, it would have hurt my feelings. But I've just kind of like steeled myself. I know people are going to say things that are not nice, but it is their right to say those words, and it's my decision how I want to respond. And the thing is, it's if we let ourselves fall apart every time we heard something that hurts, we would be shattered irrevocably. So you don't want to let words have that power over you. You can embrace your disorder, and be open about it, and to help stop hurtful words. So we're going to hear upsetting things, but it doesn't mean that you have to be upset. I like to laugh things off. It's a lot more pleasant to laugh about things or go, "Oh my God, they're so ignorant," than to be hurt by it. And it's a talent and it's a skill. You have to do it. You have to work at it. But trust me, the world is it's a much easier place to live in if we're not getting upset all the time. And again, like that's a skill, but you have the power, like He-Man. Your diagnosis is simply a blueprint for treatment. One of the things I see a lot is that people blame their bipolar disorder on being hurtful or aggressive or destructive, and that's simply not the case. When we get a diagnosis, that's blueprint for our treatment. That's treatment blueprint for what kind of medications we're going to be prescribed and what kind of therapy works best for us. It's not an identity and it's not a carte blanche for engaging in really destructive behavior. I see a lot of people talk about doing really hurtful things to their loved ones and say, "Oh, because of bipolar disorder, oh, because of mental illness." And we can't control our symptoms and we can't control having the disorder, but we can control what we do about it. And I always say the worst thing than having a mental health disorder and not being diagnosed is being diagnosed with a mental health disorder and not doing anything about it. Because the whole reason of getting a diagnosis is to know how to treat it. So don't let your diagnosis just be an excuse for being hurtful or engaging in bad behavior.
Exactly.
Self-care isn't fun, but it is important. And when we think about self-care, we might think about mani-pedis or champagne bubble baths or like big pieces of chocolate cake. But self-care isn't always that fun. Self-care is making yourself go to bed, even though you're binge watching your favorite show for the 15th time. Self-care is making yourself get your credit score and set a budget, even though it's scary to get your credit score and Amazon Week is fast approaching. It's setting up a schedule and sticking to it. That's no fun, but it's important for your self-care. And I always say that self-care is, my cat is, I always say that self-care is setting up is, what did I say about self? I'm sorry, my cat threw me off. Is making responsible choices for your future you. So that when you think about doing the right thing, you're doing something right for future you. Future you will thank you for setting a budget. Future you will thank you for eating a healthy diet. Future you will thank you for doing yoga. Future you may not be so thrilled that you had, a shopping spree at the mall, but future you will always be grateful that you stayed on budget. Make sure that you're like we talked before, monitoring your sleep hygiene is so important. But we talked about that earlier. Drug and alcohol use is not recommended. Making sure that you eat a healthy diet and making sure that you're going to therapy and engaging in healthy lifestyle choices.
So
are there any
yeah, are there any questions? Does anyone have any questions? You can speak or you can put them in the chat. It's okay if no one has any questions. Let me see. Okay. So what'd you guys think of this? Did you learn anything that you didn't know? I learned some things I didn't know, like the tough love for bipolar. That was a good paper that you wrote, Alice.
Thank you.
So, all right. So, our next psychoeducation class is on, let me pull it up really quick. I just want to let you guys know what the schedule is. Our next psychoeducation class is pediatric bipolar disorder. Now, this is going to surprise you, but more than 50% of people have had an onset before the age of 19. About 27.68% had an onset before the age of 12, and 37.7% have an onset before the age of 19. So pediatric bipolar disorder is a big thing, and that's something that I'm very passionate about. Shauna, who is also, she runs the meet and greet. She's also a director and secretary of the nonprofit. She and I published a paper on pediatric bipolar disorder in Bipolar Disorders Journal. So we're going to be talking about that on Sunday, December 10th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then we're doing navigating relationships in bipolar disorder, friendships, dating, and family. And that's Sunday, December 17th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's with Kate Burrows and myself. Kate has a PhD in sociology, and she is a wonderful speaker. And then we're going to do the gut microbiome theory and bipolar disorder on Sunday, January 7th at 7 p.m. So those are our next that's our next lineup for psychoeducation classes. Now we will be having some guest lectures coming up. It's just that there is a conference in Toronto coming up, and a lot of researchers are getting ready for it. So we haven't been able to get any researchers to give a guest lecture recently. Questions. Do you find certain things causes triggers besides sleep or alcohol, drugs? Chaos. Chaos is a big one. Change is a big one. Let me see what else.
Stress.
Stress, yeah, stress, arguments with support group members, you know, lack of communication, um, not knowing how to control your emotions can cause your triggers. Yeah. Um, but what else?
Caffeine. Well, that's a drug
Well,
technically.
caffeine, it's not good for anxiety. And I was told by a therapist, caffeine and don't take naps during the day, when you're bipolar, because that will make it hard to sleep at night, and then you'll get off your schedule, and your circadian rhythm will just be completely wasted. That's not the right word, but completely out of the loop. What else can you think of, Alice?
Well, for me, I know my biggest stressors are usually they relate to work and the unknown. So, like, I guess that is chaos.
The unknown,
Um,
yeah.
Having to make big transitions.
Hmm.
That's another big thing. People have a challenge, get challenged the most when it comes to like making a transition, like from starting an activity to like starting another activity. That's a big one. And people get a lot of paralysis from that as well. Um,
For me, when I was in grad school, so when I was an undergrad, I really did not do well. I got a 2.9 when I was in grad school. Not grad school, in undergrad. What I learned to do, because of the like chaos triggers and the like putting things off and everything, what I learned to do like with school, because a lot of us are in school, or a lot of us are trying to go back to school, is to get your work done ahead of time, so that you're not dealing with the chaos at the end of the month and you're just like, whoa, and you go into an episode or you just fall apart. um grief grief can definitely do it to you. So those are definitely things that can cause, triggers that can cause episodes besides sleep, alcohol, and drugs.
and
But
I'll say,
definitely,
I was going to say social media, like
oh
bad
yeah,
influence on social media. I have a tendency to get very paranoid, and if you go to the right places on social media and you get involved in the conspiracy theories, it'll mess you up.
yeah.
It So social media, bad influences on social media can have a huge effect. That's why I always say, like, the curate what you see.
And certain friends can trigger you. um you know, they may not be the most supportive people, and they may say things that are just not appropriate. They may just not be a good influence on you, and there are certain people that we just got to weed out of our lives, um because not everyone is good for us. And I say that not just being bipolar, I'm saying that as a human being, not everyone is good for us. So Winston Churchill took naps during the day, well known that he was bipolar. Not that I'd agree with everything he did to deal with being bipolar, but he did take advantage of what most people think are the cons of being bipolar. He realized that bipolar can be as much a gift as it can be a curse. I truly believe that it can be a gift as much as it can be a curse. I do not wish bipolar disorder on anyone, not my worst enemy, but um it has given me so much in my life. You know, I've had it, like I said, since I was 6 years old. It has fueled creativity for me. It has fueled my empathy level. It has fueled my level of resilience. And there's actually a paper written by Dr. I forget, Dr. Greenwood. She wrote a paper about the space between madness and chaos, or madness and oh shoot, and creativity, basically. Um, and that's something that we have in the guide section to read. She also did a talk for us, a guest lecture for us, if you ever want to look into that. We also have a paper in the guide section about the five 5 things that bipolar people are much, I wouldn't say better at, but have higher levels of than most people, and that is empathy, creativity, resilience, spirituality, and there's one more, and I always forget it. But yeah, I see it like that. It can be as much a gift as much as it can be a curse. Do you have to stay away from candles now? Like being excited about a hobby that can trigger that an episode. Um, no, I don't have to stay away from the candles now. Uh, I I got a lot of candles still. Um, but if I'm excited about a hobby, I know I'm self-aware to the point where I know like when it's too much. Um, Now, like when you're spending $10,000 on candle making supplies, that's when you know like things are getting out of control. But I took up gardening recently, and yeah, I spent a little money on gardening, but on some plants and some bulbs and stuff, but like I didn't go out of control. I didn't I just planted like a normal amount of bulbs in my front lawn. Um have to take your excitement with a grain of salt and analyze it. Yes, definitely.
Good
Um
question.
yeah, definitely. For me, I've been stable 6 years, so I don't get that. I don't get that excitement yet. And there's a line from Carol Lewis in Alice in Wonderland, and I think it's something oh, give me 1 second. Since a lot of people, when they start taking medications, they feel like, oh my gosh, I don't feel anything. And the thing is, they're feeling neurotypical emotions. Um, so let me
I'm looking it up.
yeah. You used to be more muchier. You've lost your muchness, and that was the Mad Hatter saying something to Alice in Alice in Wonderland. And that was something that I had a hard time dealing with because I had a lot of fun when I was manic in my 20s, and I did a lot of traveling. I had a lot of hobbies. Like I traveled 3 times a year to Europe, and I now, last year was well, not last year. A couple months ago was the first time I traveled to Europe in like 8 years. Um, so it's hard, but um I don't get that level of excitement anymore. And when you do get on the right medications, you're not going to get that level of excitement anymore. And it's not that you're numb, it's you're feeling neurotypical emotions. You're not feeling the extreme.
And also something to remember is that there's always a course of self-correction. So if you are manic or you're hypomanic and you're enjoying yourself, you're going to crash and you're going to feel depressed because that's just how the brain works. You will always experience a crash from hypomania or mania. And that's what keeps me in check because like when I am feeling like excited, like muchness, when I am feeling like that, I do what I can to nip it in the bud because I don't want the depressive crash that's inevitable.
Hmm.
So there's always a payoff. It's never just a good thing.
Does that mean you feel you've lost some of your creative flair due to medications? Not at all. I've published quite a few papers, and I've come up with some really good arguments for my papers. And I probably would not have been able to do that had I been manic or depressed. And that's just because I wouldn't have been able to think straight. Yes, things were more beautiful in the world when I was manic. um Even when I was depressed, things could be more beautiful. You listen to songs and they're just like they hit you so much harder. But no, I don't feel I've lost my creative flair. I feel like I've been able to connect better with people, because I don't feel those extreme emotions that I felt before that other people didn't understand. It's like staring up at the stars, looking at the sky and seeing all these different colors of stars and brighter stars and stars of all shapes and colors, and other people looking at you like, why are you seeing this? And you being like, well, why aren't you seeing this? Um,
Yeah.
it's
Oh, sorry.
no, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I was going to say that when I was in grad school and I was diagnosed, I was getting my doctorate in clinical psychology, and I started writing my dissertation, which I thought was going to be this brilliant, amazing. Nobody had ever thought of it. There was no there was no article about what I was going to talk about, and it was amazing. And now that I'm medicated, I don't even know what I was talking about. So it may feel like what you're doing is incredible and cutting edge and a gift to the world, but it's probably not, and it probably doesn't make sense. And I remember talking to my parents after I got diagnosed and talking to them, and they were like, yeah, when you were talking about certain things, we had no idea what you were talking about. So I'm not on the edge like I was anymore, but I'm still creative. But the things that I generate, people understand, and I can follow through with an idea, because a lot of also what was happening, I was getting fed of ideas and just linking everything to everything else, and there was really no like concrete level of thinking. So what makes sense to us, what feels like hyper creativity, probably doesn't come off that way to others. And like I think the whole idea of being creative is being able to create something that you can share with others who see it clearly. And I like Kat said, like it's no, but they don't see what we see, and it's a lot better when you're thinking clearly.
Yeah. I don't miss being manic, but sometimes I do. I miss that muchness, but I love my life now. Um, I want to give you guys just a quick list of like movies on bipolar disorder that are really good. Um, like I'm gonna put them in the chat. These ones I say oh wait 1 second. How do I do this? Infinitely Bipolar Bear. That is a really good movie. That really, really expresses what bipolar disorder is like. It's about a guy who was diagnosed manic depressive back in the day when it was manic depressive, and his wife leaves him, but still is married to him. They have 2 kids, and she moves up to New York, and she for school, and she wants him to take care of the kids and to stay on his medication, and she gives him the opportunity to take care of his kids, and they see what it's like for someone with bipolar 1 disorder. Silver Lining Playbook, um probably seen it before. It's on Netflix. It's not the best depiction of bipolar disorder, but it's definitely got some it definitely cuts some places. And then Touched with Fire, that's one that I would say may trigger you, especially if you have experienced mania recently. It's about a manic couple that meet in a hospital and fall in love, and it just ends poorly. But those are some good movies. If you guys are interested in any movies that are oh, and also Modern Love. There's an episode of Modern Love, and I can't remember. Let me see. Um, uh, it is it's the one with Anne Hathaway. It's Modern Love, episode 3, season 1. with Anne Hathaway, and it is a very, very good depiction of mania. So these are some things to check out if you guys are interested. Um, and that's about it for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed this psychoeducation class, and always, always, always let us know if you have anything that you want to learn about. Just write to us, put it, comment, and we will come up with a psychoeducation class for it. If you find an article that you really like from 2019 to 2023 that you really like, that you think would be great for others to learn about, let me know. DM me. Oh my God, technology. Message me and message me or post something, and I will directly write to the author or the co-authors and try to get them to give a guest lecture. So we do this all for you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you for attending this.
Thank you so much.
All
Great
right, bye
question.
guys.
Bye.